There's an interesting dynamic happening with AI where people are citing these studies how, let's say, 5% of developers are a lot more productive, and everybody else using AI for coding is actually not really much more productive. And I think it's an interesting conversation because, in fact, this is always what happens, right? You could say the same thing. Let's say, oh, we invented math or we developed calculus, and only a very small percentage of people is able to actually take advantage of that tool. Most people, even today, are not very familiar with calculus and are not taking advantage of it. You could say the same thing about software in general, databases and the internet. I mean, not everybody's always like I guess productivity gains technology is a nonlinear forcing function into society. It doesn't lift everybody. It only lifts a small percentage. And I think technology actually inherently drives inequality in that sense. And that's part of the reason why a lot of people are, having issues with today's economy. It's because there is this inequality, because people are able to take advantage of new technologies in different ways. Now, some technologies are more democratizing. I would say, the internet has been very democratizing in access to information. Electric cars are democratizing and offering much better products to everybody. You don't have to be sophisticated to drive an electric car. You don't have to be sophisticated to drive a self-driving electric car. So that's very democratizing. But then these productivity tools are actually the exact opposite. I think they create a disadvantage for most people. In fact, people would be better off if there wasn't any progress. And I think that explains also why we have this anti-progress movement amongst progressives, which is kind of funny, but that's an irony on itself. This is not in our own podcast. It's April 4, 2026. This is Crimdalco. For the year, we're down 18.4%. The market is down 3.7%, relative by 14.7%. Our massive underperformance comes from Tesla. They published their numbers on Wednesday, and then on Thursday, the last trading day before Easter, we saw, unfortunately, a drawdown of 5%. I think we spoke about this already in a previous episode. I just want to mention that I think we're really in a tough spot as Tesla investors because we have this problem. I don't know if it's a problem, but it's certainly a situation. Let's call it a situation where, on the one hand, we are very, very excited about the infrastructure investments that are being made into the platform that Tesla is going to be, which is a transport as a service company. Let's just leave it at that. I think there's more to come, but I think that is in itself already pretty exciting. But then on the other hand, we have a declining car business. I mean, we have barely any growth. I mean, yeah, overall, maybe we're growing year over year, but we are not able to grow the car business. We should be at 2 million, we should be at 3 million, 4 million, 5 million cars. We're not there. People aren't buying Teslas as we thought they should, given that it's the best product in the market, given that it has the best software, it has the best ecosystem, it's the best value. I don't even know where else to look. I mean, you look at value, you look at the product, you look at the cost savings. Really, almost every vector you look at, it's a better situation, and nevertheless, we are not able to grow, and that is a problem, and we don't really have a good answer, and that's in itself actually the most unnerving thing, right? Because if we had an answer, if there was, for example, better products in the market, then we could say, okay, look, it is what it is. I mean, there's better competitors, but there aren't. Even in China, there aren't. The Chinese EV makers are not better than Tesla in many dimensions. The product isn't better, the software isn't better, the companies aren't better. Actually, companies are much, much worse because they're all losing money. There's state-owned interventions and all kinds of shenanigans going on. So this is not the situation that we thought we would be in, but nevertheless, we are in this situation. That's why we're underperforming. We think that the infrastructure build-out that Tesla is building now to become a transport as a service company is going to proliferate. Well, creation for Tesla, and that's why we're sticking with the investment. Now let's talk about today's episode. Today's episode is about this supposedly weird discovery that we have an uneven distribution of people's ability to take advantage of AI tools. So that's the theme, right? And I'm saying, but that's not a surprise. I mean, we've always had that in the history of humanity, particularly after the scientific revolution kicked in. We had, let's say, the evolution of mathematics and calculus, which was very useful for engineering. Well, not everybody took advantage of that. Actually, a small sliver, I would say 5% of the population that went through the effort to study engineering, and then 5, maybe 10% of, of the global population in terms of countries and developments really became very powerful thanks to the industrial revolution. So not everybody was able to take advantage of this innovation. We have with the software industry growing from the onwards 1980s onwards, and particularly after the internet exploded, not everybody took advantage. So this is a normal thing. I think we have, when it comes to productivity tools, when it comes to technology, actually uneven distribution of productivity gains is the norm. And that's why we have the inequality that everybody talks about, particularly on the left. It's not because capitalism is such an evil, system. Actually, it has nothing to do with capitalism. Capitalism and communism are really the same thing, with the exception that capitalism at least gives you a chance, versus communism doesn't. But the difference is the scientific revolution. It's the scientific breakthroughs that proliferate productivity gains and make certain people a lot more productive, give certain people a lot more power versus others. And that's the norm. That's how it is in general. I mean, this is just how progress works. And I think we can draw some conclusions for that. One is, I think it explains why we have this backlash against progressive technology. We have this backlash against people like Elon Musk, who are driving innovation and engineering. Engineering is the enemy of equality. Like, because it when it comes to productivity gains, I mean, the reason we actually tolerate it, okay, the reason we tolerate engineering and the scientific revolution is because a lot of things, maybe 80% of innovations, are not productivity tools. 80% of innovations are actually democratizing the world. They're making better cars, washing machines, air condition, buildings, things. If it wasn't for the government interventions, life would become a lot cheaper. I mean, we'd have deflation because of technology. That's why we actually tolerate technology. But when it comes to productivity, which is, let's say Cloud Code or Microsoft PowerPoint and all these types of tools that we've had in the last 20, 30, 40 years, Adobe and so on and so forth, it is not democratizing. It is actually, there's some people that are able to take advantage and others don't. And I think that's just, like I said, it's the same with math. It's the same with CAD design, or like, it's just, you have to go through the effort. It takes time. And I think people's intelligence, I mean, the concept, what is intelligence is the ability to solve problems, the computational part of the ability to achieve goals by solving problems. And that is just sometimes some people are better than others in doing that. So as a conclusion, I guess we want to say that this studies that you have a small sliver of people who are much better in evolving and developing skills and using technology to their advantage. That is the norm, and that's what we should expect. And actually, with the proliferation of AI, I think that's going to become a lot more extreme. So we have a lot more inequality actually coming, and that's a social problem we're going to have to deal with. But the hope is that we have also massive elevation of wealth for everybody, and therefore that those inequality, jealousy feelings or whatever could come out from that type of evolution, that will be mitigated. Thank you.